Today's story is about a woman who disappeared without a trace inside an apartment. On April 19, 2008, a tragic news story was reported in a Japanese weekly magazine. The article stated that a young woman in her 20s had gone missing from her apartment, and it was as if she had vanished into thin air inside the building. The missing woman was 23-year-old Tojo Rurika, who resided in the apartment with her sister. This apartment, located in Tokyo, Japan, was quite expensive. Tojo and her sister chose to live there because of its excellent security features. They felt uneasy living without parents, so they opted for a place equipped with CCTV cameras and an automatic locking system in each unit. Furthermore, to prepare for any potential intrusion, the sisters moved to the 9th floor, the highest floor of the apartment. Just a month after the sisters moved in, on the evening of April 18 around 7:30 p.m., Tojo's sister received a text message from Tojo saying she had arrived home. An hour later, her sister also returned home. The lights were on inside the house, and outside the front door, there was a bag of snacks along with Tojo's earring. However, there was no sign of Tojo anywhere in the apartment. After searching the house, her sister made a chilling discovery: there were faint traces of blood on the entrance wall, magazine, and the washing machine. Filled with fear, her sister reported the disappearance to the police at around 9:15 p.m. The police arrived at the apartment around 9:30 p.m. and conducted an on-site inspection, analyzing the CCTV footage. There were a total of 5 CCTV cameras operating inside the apartment. One of the cameras captured Tojo returning home at 7:28 p.m., wearing a black coat and pants, carrying a small handbag. However, the problem was that there was no footage of her leaving the apartment afterwards. Therefore, it was concluded that she must still be inside the apartment. Based on the tiny amount of blood found on the entrance wall, the police speculated that Tojo was attacked suddenly by someone the moment she opened the front door, and that she was likely alive during the surprise attack. Also, since there was no footage of her leaving the building, they presumed she was either still inside the apartment or had already met her demise. Since there were no signs of the perpetrator leaving the scene, they assumed the suspect might still be inside the apartment. Throughout the night, the police conducted thorough investigations with the residents. However, there were no reports of any screams or arguments around the presumed time of the incident at 7:30 p.m. Moreover, they meticulously searched every unit in the apartment building and even the less frequented areas, but no substantial progress was made. On the following day, April 19 at 3 p.m., the media started reporting the incident. The news of a missing woman, with the possibility that both the victim and the perpetrator were inside the apartment, turned the case into a public investigation, drawing the attention of many people. The police presented 2 possibilities. One was that Tojo had already escaped from the apartment or had been kidnapped and taken outside. There were indeed blind spots in 2 of the CCTV cameras, although the range was very limited. It was speculated that the perpetrator might have premeditated these blind spots and committed the crime there. If so, the suspect was assumed to be someone highly skilled in criminal activities, possibly not a first-time offender. The second possibility was that Tojo might still be inside the apartment. She could be held captive in an empty room, or after being murdered, her body could have been disposed of in some secretive location known only to the perpetrator. Based on these 2 possibilities, the police immediately sealed off the entire apartment. They stationed police officers at all entrances, and ordered all residents to deactivate their automatic locking systems for investigation. Despite the controlled environment and extensive investigations, there were no breakthroughs. The police collected fingerprints from all residents and verified alibis for every household. They even examined the trash disposals but found no traces of Tojo. For a whole month, the police could not find any leads on Tojo's whereabouts. On May 24, 36 days after Tojo went missing, 33-year-old Takanori Hashijima, who resided in apartment 918 of the same building, was urgently arrested. He was an ordinary office worker living next door to Tojo. When the police identified him as a murder suspect, Hashijima strongly protested, questioning why they were accusing him. However, the police dramatically revealed the entire story with compelling evidence. Hashijima had become excited since the moment 2 young women, including Tojo, moved into the adjacent apartment a month earlier. Particularly, he had been spying on Tojo whenever he had the opportunity. As his desire for her grew, he started fantasizing about kidnapping her. On the day of the incident, he watched Tojo's house from 6:30 p.m., waiting for her to return alone. When Tojo returned and opened her front door, he rushed in, swiftly covering her mouth to prevent her from screaming. He blinded her eyes with a towel, then forcibly took her to his own apartment. After a successful abduction, he suddenly heard police sounds from outside. Fear gripped him and he realized that if Tojo screamed, he would be exposed. Therefore, he decided to kill her. Around 11 p.m., he moved Tojo's body to the bathroom, dismembered it, sealed her limbs in trash bags, put them in the freezer, wrapped her head in paper and placed it in a box disguised as a parcel. He wrapped her torso in plastic, put it in a box, and hid it under his bed. After the dismemberment was complete around 2 a.m., the police arrived at his house for the investigation. He acted as if nothing was wrong. Inside his house were numerous boxes, but the police failed to find Tojo's body hidden among them. He worked at a computer game company and stored many game consoles in boxes. The police didn't suspect anything from his words and didn't examine each box. On the evening of the next day at 7 p.m., the disappearance of Tojo began to be extensively covered on TV news. Hashijima felt he needed to eliminate any evidence, so he further dismembered Tojo's body into smaller pieces. He flushed these pieces down the toilet. He meticulously cut Tojo's clothes and belongings into tiny pieces as well and flushed them down the toilet. The following day around 4 p.m., as he was leaving his apartment to go to a convenience store, he encountered an elderly man on the first floor of the apartment building with a deeply concerned expression. The elderly man was Tojo's father. He informed Hashijima that his daughter was missing and asked if he had seen her. Hashijima left him with a message, expressing his hope for her safe return. Not only that, but he also gave interviews to reporters who had gathered around the apartment complex to cover the incident. The next day on the 21st at 7 a.m., Hashijima began preparing to go to work. He had flushed Tojo's body down the toilet but still needed to dispose of the bones. He wanted to throw the bones outside. Although the police were inspecting bags of people entering the apartment, he boldly placed the bones inside a bag and left his home. However, the police only inspected bags large enough to contain a body, so he passed the inspection smoothly. Day by day, he gradually added the bones to the bag and disposed of them in a nearby garbage dump. During this time, the police did not notice his actions and he managed to completely eliminate the victim's remains. Hashijima was celebrating his perfect crime, but one evening the doorbell rang. It was the police, informing residents about fingerprint comparisons they were going to conduct. The police found fingerprints on Tojo's front door and decided to compare the fingerprints of all the apartment residents. He agreed to undergo the fingerprint investigation, fearing that the police might become suspicious if he refused. When the police found a match between the fingerprints they discovered and his own, he was immediately apprehended. However, the police faced a challenging situation as they couldn't locate the victim's body, making it difficult to prosecute him for murder. Hashijima continued to confess to his crimes, but he was aware of the police's difficulty in prosecuting him for murder. The police began thoroughly searching the sewage system near the apartment. The police made a dramatic discovery of a bone fragment, roughly about 2 inches in size, along with a credit card bearing Tojo's name that Hashijima had cut into pieces. When water from toilets or bathtubs went down the sewage system, it flew into the sea near where he lived. It was astonishing that this bone fragment had remained in the sewage system for a whole month. On June 13, 2008, just 2 months after the crime, the police unveiled the details of the case, and Hashijima was subsequently charged and brought to trial. During the trial, he revealed that his motive for the crime was rooted in his lack of previous experiences with women and having sexual fantasies about them. However, he confessed that things did not go as planned when he actually kidnapped Tojo, leading him to commit the heinous act impulsively. Furthermore, his demeanor during the trial was notably detached and peculiar. The prosecution vehemently advocated for the death penalty, labeling Hashijima as a brutal and highly dangerous criminal posing a threat to society. Despite having been sentenced to life imprisonment in his initial trial, Hashijima instructed his legal team to appeal the verdict and request the death penalty. However, Hashijima remained absent from the court. In a surprising twist, he even requested a death sentence for himself. After evaluating the case, the court chose not to pursue the death penalty. In response, the prosecution promptly lodged an objection, criticizing the district court's decision as excessively lenient. On February 18, 2009, Hoshijima received a final verdict of life imprisonment. Subsequently, an appeal was opened, but he did not attend it and consistently expressed his desire for the death penalty in written statements. Nevertheless, he was ultimately sentenced to life imprisonment and is currently incarcerated.